Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to grecochess, the YouTube channel of chess. The channel where we comment, we discuss, we analyze, and we talk about the game of chess. And we continue facing the chess.com bot. It's a series we started a long time ago. Last summer, we were facing bots until we would face the first loss, which came a little bit earlier than expected. Let me share the screen with you. Here are the bots. We started with the beginner. We defeated all of them very easily, twice, once when I had the white pieces and once when I had the black pieces. No draws or losses. And we continued to the intermediate and things were going great until we faced Emir from Turkey, where we won with the white pieces on the first attempt, but with the black pieces, we needed 3 attempts to make it. And then a few months later, we continued. See how far we can go, but this time we are more tolerant to losses. We face every bot until we defeat it twice, once with white and once with black. We're able to complete all the intermediate bots, but with some draws and losses. And then it was time for the advanced bots. 10 out of 20, once again, in spite of a few draws and losses, we went through. And now it's time for number 11. 11 out of the 20th, Wally. Wally, in the previous video, we won with the white pieces first attempt, and now we are facing white with the black pieces. And here we are. And Wally starts with the same greeting, good morning. Let's sit back and enjoy a long game together. Okay, Wally, let's see what you can do when you have the white pieces. Because when you had the black, you didn't do that well. And play for Wally. Pawn to d4. My pawn goes to d5, symmetric. The other choice is usually when knight goes to f6, the Indians. Knight to c3 for Wally, attacks the pawn on d4 and also controls on d5 and also controls the e4 square. And I'm going to send my knight to f6. Till now it's theory. Bishop to f4, the London. How to defend against that? One thing that's very scary, if the knight goes to b5, it attacks c7. I suffered too many times out of that, and that's why I'm going to put my pawn on c6 to stop Wally from any such ideas. Pawn to e3. My pawn to e6, also liberate my bishop on f8. Bishop to e2, and I don't like this London bishop on f4. Let's see if I can exchange it. Or anything better I can do. What if I pin the knight here and then I bring my knight on e4? That would be very dangerous. Okay. Pin the knight on c3. Wally wants to break the pin. I keep it. Bishop to a5. Again. And now that you open your defenses so much, let's see if we can exchange the bishops. Yep. So don't have to worry about the London bishop anymore. What else can I do? Let's castle. Short castle, king side. King side. What would happen if I push my pawn, the pawn break to e5, attack twice, and defend it only once? No, that's not a good idea. That's why first let's place the rook on e8. And now the knight to d7. Let's exchange the knights. I don't like the knight on e5. You like my position. Now what can I do? You are extra protecting your knight, but the problem is that the pawn on e3, if I only can reach it, it is not defended. Let's exchange it, and then I'll see a way to save my knight on f6. Bishop to d3. I don't like your bishop at all. My pawn goes to f6. I want to break your chain. Is it dangerous? It is. If I take it, queen goes to h5 check, and then I lose my rook. Oh, yeah, that is quite dangerous. So I'm not going to take your bishop. I'm down by a pawn. Into f8. Let's see. Yeah, things are becoming really very difficult. Oh, yeah, things are really very bad. If oh la Wally, you're near winning. Queen goes to h8 and it's mate. And if I put my king on g8, queen to h7 check, king goes here, it's mate. If I put my rook down, I lost a rook. Even worse than that, it's mate. I think the one that can delay the mate the most. Let's see. Will you see the mate? I'm afraid you will see it. Yep, it's mate. And unfortunately, first game with Wally didn't go well at all. 19 moves and I lost it. Rematch. See if I can beat Wally the second time. Wally with white, when I had white and you had black, you didn't play well, but now, oh yeah. I should be very careful with these checks on h7. I didn't see the knight. That's why I thought there was no Greek gift. And foolishly I fell for that. Second game. Opening, trying to develop. I don't want to make too many comments. Oh, my pawn on b7 is in danger. What can I do? I think the best thing is change queens because your queen is too dangerous and my queen has not done anything. Can I exchange queens like that? I think so. You'll double your pawns. You must take my queen, yes. If my knight goes to b4, I'm ready for check on c2. And look what trick I'm going to do. I think I'm going to win. Oh, no. The bishop is here. Can I, if I take your pawn, you take my pawn. I don't want that. So here we are. You're attacking me, so I have to find a way to defend myself. I was thinking if I could take the pawn on d3 and fork, but now the bishop is f1. That will not work. Let me send my knight here and attack your bishop. Of course, you saved your bishop. Oh, my rook will be under danger. Anything you can do before that? Can I change bishops? Nope. Can I send my rook where? I know if my knight, your knight disappears, if this knight goes away and my knight is attacked, here I'm in danger. Where should I put? Definitely not on b8, the other bishop. On c8, I think it could be good for now. Opposite your... Yes, your knight goes here, took my pawn. If I take it... Should have placed my rook on d8. Okay, now your knight is under attack. Oh, you saw it. Well, my knight can go nowhere. Let's place my knight on d8. I'm down a pawn already. Wonderful. See, can we exchange bishops? Your bishops are too dangerous, these two bishops that you have. See what's happening. If I move my bishop, then I lose the pawn here. Yeah, attack, yes, but then this pawn becomes very weak. The e6 pawn. Change the bishops, I hope. Your pawn. You don't take it because of your knight here. Attack two pawns. One on b5 and one on e2. Can I take at least one of them? No castling. In defending one of the two pawns. Yes, both pawns were defended. Can I take this? Oh, your knight is here. Don't like the idea. What can I do? I'm already down a pawn. Hmm. What will happen if I take the pawn? You take my, with my knight on c3, take the pawn b5, you take your bishop, and then I win your knight here. Will that work? No, how do I take the knight? I don't have a rook. No. Let's exchange the bishops. Now the knight, excuse me, the pawn is attacked twice. The pawn on b5. Your knight wants to defend it. Can I exchange your bishop? At least I can get rid of these two bishops that are too powerful, I would say. Okay, the bishops will exchange. Can I win your pawn on c6? Can I win this pawn? It's defend, it's attacked twice, defended only once. Now I'm also attacking this pawn here. Material is even. Now I'm going to be ahead of pawn. You can exchange here, if you like. I want to win this pawn because too near promotion. Okay, good. I'm still a pawn ahead. Attacking my knight. My knight attacks the pawn on e2. Rook to a1. If I check, no, let's save this pawn. I don't want your rook to come to my side. Attacking your knight, and if your knight moves, I'm attacking the pawn. Save my knight. I expected this. Can I place a second rook here? Now I'm going to send a both of my rooks on the second rank. If I exchange rooks, look at the pawn, I believe. Yes, I have a very powerful pawn here. I'm ahead by a pawn. Can I promote my A pawn? What should I do? You don't have a passed pawn here. I don't have to worry about that. If my pawn goes... No, it's not. The king is here. Let's start pushing the A pawn, see how far I can go. Exchange, don't want you to promote any pawn on the king side. Because the knight is pinned, although there's no pawn for me to take, that's why you move your pawn. I win another pawn. My knight is protected good. I don't think I have a direct combination here. If I put the pawn, you take it, then I cannot take the knight. Dun, dun, dun. There is a trick. Let's see the combination. Pawn goes here, rook takes it. Rook takes, king takes it, and then I have a fork. I win the rook, and I think I'm winning the game because I have this pawn. I'll try it. Let's see if it works. Chances to see multi-move combinations. If it works. If it doesn't work, too bad. Any check, any Zwickenshoek? There is. Here, takes it. Here, take it. And then you're going to check here. Intermediate move. It's not going to work. And then I don't have the fork. Would it work if my king was here on e6 instead? Now there is no Zwickenshoek. But now there is no fork. Let's see. Pawn, king, check, checks. Oh, there is. Let's see once again. Pawn promotes. Rook takes pawn. Of course, in a real game over the board, you don't have the orange arrows. Then I check. You take it. And here I am. And I win. Let me try it. This time you don't have the Zwickenshoek, or do you have it? You don't have the intermediate move. Go here for check. I'll try it, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm learning. And even if my knight doesn't survive in the corner, because most likely it's not... Oh, you didn't even take it. Let's see what happens with the pawn race. I go here, go here. I go here, you take my pawn. I go here, pawn goes here. I will go here, pawn goes here. I promote. And your pawn at most can go here. So let's start the pawn race. Forget everything else. Forget about saving my knight or anything else. And I don't even need to move my king. I'm ahead in the pawn race. Now, I check. Not only that, your pawn cannot even go where it would like to go. How can I keep your pawn from moving? I want your pawn not even to go to the next rank. Okay, here we are. Just make sure we don't stalemates. If you went here, that would be very dangerous. Let's bring my knight to help the attack. And the situation is that even if... Okay, you still have two squares to go. There is no stalemate. The only legal move you have is push the pawn. If you push it, what's going to happen? If I put my knight here, your pawn is lost. I put my because the pawn attacked twice defended only by the king. But do you have legal moves? Yes, you have one to go here. Take the pawn, and now it's mate. And good. So Wally we defeated on the second attempt. But we are going now to do the reviews. I also want to review the game that I lost. Let's review this game that I lost in 19 moves. 95.9 for Wally, who played as if his rating was 2,400 and my rating, like 69%, as if it was 1,450. Wally had one brilliant, of course, as I mentioned, Wally supposedly has rating of 1,800 nominal rating, and my rating, United States Chess Federation, reached a high of 1,706. Let's see this game where Wally had one brilliant and one great move, and I had two mistakes and a blunder. Let's start the review, see how the game went and where did I blunder. This is the first game that I lost. Okay, until now, the computer wants my bishop to go to f5. Yes, it's blocking. In other games, different openings, if the pawn is not on c2 and c3 or c4, the queen can go to b3, and it's very dangerous. But here I should have placed my bishop on f5. Why not on g4? I don't know. You attack the queen. Of course, the pawn can defend on f3. Inaccuracy. We should do before the best. So we finished 5 moves and ahead by 0.27. Let's see the next. Oh, no, no good idea. Computer wants me to exchange my bishop with a knight. Usually pins are nice things. Why not keep them as long as possible? But every rule has the exceptions. Yes, good idea to exchange the bishops. And until now, things go normally. This was inaccuracy, and from being ahead by 0.10, I'm down 0.46 after 10 moves, but this doesn't mean too much. It goes here. Ah, excellent move, okay. F4, great move, because otherwise I would take the pawn takes back, and might not go here to attack the pawn. But this makes the pawn on e3 unprotected. If only I could place, for example, my queen there and check, and then threaten the knight on c3. But how can the queen go there? I remember in one of my games many years ago, somehow I was able to find a way through, but here there was none. Not a good idea. What should I have done? Computer says rook to e7. And now Wally is ahead by 1.6. Takes it. Yes, okay, the best. Yes, is ready for pawn to h7. And now this is a blunder. My pawn should have gone to f5. Okay, not f6. And now Wally is ahead by 5.45. Brilliant, of course. I cannot take the best because you see that had I taken it, I'm going to show in orange arrows, then checks come here, and king goes back, and then I lose my rook. That is why I couldn't take the bishop. It's not only long-term like the Greek use, but this is immediate, losing at least an exchange. What can I do? Here I am. And after 15 moves, I'm already down by 5.3. I could see the danger coming. Queen to h5, yes. My rook to e7. Excellence is a computer. I don't see how. It blocks the escape of my king. Bishop to g6. And now, I'm not sure what to do because the mate is ready. Oh, rook would have gone to f7. Still, I lose a rook, but it's not immediate mate. I would only have been down by 561, and now it's mate in two moves. So that was the first game. But let's see the nice second game that I won. Here I had 88.7% accuracy, Wally 81.3. I played as if my rating was 2,300 and Wally as if it was 2,050. Both of us are ahead of our ratings. So finally, on the second attempt, I was able to eliminate Wally. And let's see the review. This is, let me tell you, not the most popular opening because you only push your pawn by one square. Why not two squares? But it has a surprise element. It's not that bad. A small surprise element. Already Wally deviates from theory. He's supposed to put his pawn on e4. This is the London theory. It's not an idea what he's following, meaning bishop on f4 and controlling this diagonal. I remember the first time I was destroyed by this, maybe not the first, but the first time I realized it. And after the game, my opponent came to me and said, did you realize I made my bishop the London bishop on this diagonal? I didn't even know the expression then. Then I learned it, and I hate having to face the London. Pawn to c5, yes. When you start the d pawn, next second move, it's usually the c pawn. Develops, Vita doesn't like it. It wants my pawn to go to f6, but it's scary to move your f. But here, maybe f6 and d5, I would block the London bishop. Maybe that's the reason why. Okay, of course. Computer wants me to exchange and double Wally's pawns. But if I do it, Wally will liberate his bishop f1 on one of the two diagonals. We finish 5 moves with the score, or more or less even, Wally ahead by 0.28. Yes, okay, save my bishop. Computer doesn't like it. I want to get more space. Computer wants my pawn to e6. Going to b3 attacks my pawn on b7. Yes, it's the best. I knew that the queen on b3 was very, very dangerous. Attacking, and my queen on d8 had not even moved, so why not exchange? Not a good idea. Computer doesn't like it, and myself, I didn't feel it was good for Wally, because if exchange, he has double pawns. Computer wants his knight to go here. To go, meaning to e5. Not a good idea to exchange again, pawn to f6. Then it goes to b4, great idea. If we finish 10 moves, what is the score? One is ahead by 0.86. Good idea. Both avoids the check on c2, which would be a fork, and also threatens my pawn on c5, which I defend not the best way. I don't understand. If I play f6, I lost a pawn. Yes, I can play e5, block the bishop, but I'm down by a pawn. And although this bishop cannot do anything in my area, the rook can do a lot of crazy things. That's why I don't feel it was a good idea. Knight to d5, grates the computer, save my knight and attack the bishop. Bishop goes back, of course. Now they play the pawn to e6. Again, computer wants f6 and most likely e5 later. Okay, good idea, develops the bishop. A mistake, yes. Again, computer wants pawn to f6. Here you see why. Because of a pin, I lose the pawn on d4. Yes, great move, of course, if you can see. Knight e7, the best. 15 moves finish, and now Wally's ahead by 3.1. Things are not going well at all. Knight goes back to c2 because now Wally cannot take advantage of the pin. If I take it, look, let's show it again. If pawn takes here, he takes my rook. Let's show it again. Where are we? Let's do the arrows. If I take it, rook takes, and then my knight takes, and I'm ahead by a piece. That's why now the pin idea would not work, and Wally has to place his rook back. Can I delete this thing? Unfortunately, I hit a move that, but I'm bypassing it. Now I send my rook to d8. Computer would rather have my king go to e7. Perhaps. Not done by a pawn. And 328, as the computer says. Not a good idea for castling. Wants the pawn to go to e4, attack my knight. My knight to c8. Bishop to a5. It seems to be very tempting because it freezes my bishop on f8. If I move it, I lose pawn g7. My rook on g8 is attacked. Computer wants the pawn on b4 to attack my pawn on c5. Pawn f6. Finally, I did it, and it's the best move. Wonderful. I didn't like it when I did it, not because of the pawn itself, but because e6 is undefended. Can it be attacked? Not now, but who knows later. Bishop to g3, yes. Bishop to d6. Pawn to b4, I finally attacks my chain, and I take it. Not a good idea. But I'm not sure what else could have done. If I put my knight here, as the computer wants, bishop takes. I cannot take back with the bishop because I lose my knight. I have to take back with this pawn, and my pawn structure is not good at all. Maybe. No, pawn cannot take. Look what's happening. Let's do it again. Knight. Now, well, we are here. Knight. Pawn. And the knight checks. And I win the rook. But I'm going to lose this bishop. I'm not sure if it would end up ahead or not because I'm both the attack of the other rook on my knight and bishop to bishop. No, then first I would need to take, no. Let's do it again until we learn it. Knight. Pawn takes here. Knight takes here, check. King goes here. Bishop takes here. Let's say pawn takes here. So maybe rook would go here. Very complicated. You want to take chances, and that is why I decided to take with my pawn. Inaccuracies as a computer. So from 186 down, I'm down by 265. We finished 20 moves and down by 2.65. And now I got the pawn back, which I'm going soon to lose. So materially, in reality, I'm down by a pawn, even though the computer says we're even. Oh, computer doesn't like it. Weak, isolated pawns. Look at these pawns, not good at all. Computer would rather have the bishop take my knight. But then I would take back and maybe use the knight to take back, perhaps, and attack my pawn. Let's go one move back. Computer wants bishop takes, and I take, and then knight takes and attacks my pawn, and my pawn is isolated, not easy to be defended. I might have to put my bishop back here. Not a pleasant position. But I got lucky. Pawn takes it. Knight goes to c3. Okay, move. I didn't want to take the computer says bishop takes bishop, but then pawn takes back and the rook is an open line. That's what I wanted to avoid. Check. Great move. Hmm. Okay, go here. I'm going here and not f7 because I would rather have my bishop on d6 have extra protection, not only the rook. Rook over to my king. Not a good idea. And from 211, now it's almost even. While second by only 0.01. I exchanged bishops. Computer thinks a good idea. When I did it, I didn't like it because of the rook on f1 being free. Yes, the pawn on f6 is protected by g7, but you don't like this rook to have so much freedom. To d6. Yes, bringing the knight in the game. Knight to a3. The whole story is trying to defend the opponent before. Bishop attacks. Bishop. We finished 25 moves. What is the score? 0.00. I'm back in the game. Pawn to h4. I take it, takes it back. Rook attacks a pawn. Pawn goes here, not a good idea. I'm going to win the pawn. And finally, I'm starting to have an advantage. 1.25. Take it, takes it. And now I'm ahead by a pawn material. Not yet. Now I'm ahead by a pawn, and I have an advantage of 1.52. Finally, I'm ahead. Took me a long time. I was down even by more than 3, but now I'm ahead by more than 1. 152 after 30 moves. Yes, yes. Knight goes to d4. Since finally I'm waking up, and things go well. Pawn to a3. Yes, pawn to a5. I save the pawn. King goes to save the pawn. Rook to c2. Great. Attacks the knight. If the knight leaves, pawn on d2 is lost. Attacks my knight. My pawn protects the knight. I have a knight chain f6 e5 protecting the outpost. No, it's not yet an outpost. The pawn on e2 can attack it. But it is a very good position at d4 at Wally's half of the board. Of course, computer wants the king to go to e1. I expected the rook to go to d1 as it actually went. But after 35 moves with the score, I'm ahead by 2.89. Things seem to be going my way. Let's see, will they stay my way? I'm trying to double my rooks on the second rank. Computer thinks it's just good, not great. I exchange. Yes, computer thinks it's good for me. Pawn to e4. See if I can promote. Pawn to g5, of course, will change. And before the exchange, I'm ahead by 4.37. My advantage becomes bigger and bigger. Will we keep it in the end? Of course, you saw the game. You know that I did. Pawn to a3. Just good move. Wants the king to go to there. Pawn to a2. I could have placed my knight on b3. I forgot about the pin. Yes, king can go here. But after exchange, everything pawn is promotes. Was exchange. Wally unnecessarily sacrificed the pawns on the king side, and therefore this means that even if everything disappears, my g pawn is my insurance, will give me the game. King to e3, yes, the best. King to e6. King to d3, of course, the best. And now I do something crazy. Pawn to a1. Computer would rather have my pawn go to g5, but I love it. Maybe the second best, excellent. We finished 45 moves and we get by 4.65. And now the combination went as expected. I had planned this many moves before, if you remember from the game. Brilliance is a computer, but I had planned in advance. Of course, now, great, I'm going to win the rook. And now my G pawn starts being pushed. And now I did the calculation that I know I'll be ahead. In fact, I was more ahead than my calculation because I had not counted that the pawn promote to the check as was the case. So instead of being one move ahead as I had thought, I was 2 moves ahead. 50 moves passed and I'm ahead by 7.48. And now the conclusion. And now computer says I have made in 15 moves. And it took me how many? 11. Less than the computer, meaning Wally didn't play the best way. Made in 20. Oh, what should I have done? Oh, yes, the computer wants me to bring my knight, but not time to do the calculations. I had what would happen the knight. Of course, the knight doesn't allow the pawn to go ahead. If necessary, we exchange. But I had calculated my g pawn will. Let's see how the m's are going. M20, M9, M8, M6, M6 again after promoted, M5, M4, M3, and M4. So out of 55 moves, I'm 4 moves ahead from mate. It will take me 6 moves. M4, M4. My mating 4, mating 3. Mating 3, mating 2, mating 2. Yes, see had I placed my queen here. The king could only have gone here, and it's mating. Let's see. If I had placed my queen here, king has only white has only one legal move go here, so this move here is mate. That's what the computer implies. So I'm going to win the pawn, mating 2, mating 2, mating 1, and 0. And we defeated Wally. How things are going with the bots? We defeated 11 out of the 20 advanced bots. The next one is going to be another 1800 bot called Julia from the Netherlands. Let's see what we can do with Julia. 11 out of 20 advanced bots history. Another 9 to go. Let's see how can we do. They're not going to be easy at all. Their nominal rating exceeds my actual rating in the United States Chess Federation. It is 1706, as I mentioned. Well, that's it for now. Thanks everybody for watching, to the subscribers, to the likes, and to the comments. This is grecochess. I'm your host, Kari Lausenis. And for now, ladies and gentlemen, goodbye.